What's good, everybody? It's the Connor with Cav Show. College football this past weekend did not disappoint. Really some big upsets I got right, and a couple upsets I got wrong. Obviously, the upset I got wrong was Texas. I cannot believe it. Texas really blew their chances of making the playoffs by losing to who? TCU? For real? Yeah. Look, we have to understand, with these teams, these big-time teams like Texas, Oklahoma, losing these little schools, that's it. You know, they should not get a second chance at making the playoffs this year. They're done. I'd rather see a team like, let's say, I know I hate to say it, but let's say Ohio State goes undefeated this year. You know, in the Big Ten. I want them in compared to a one-loss Texas team. That's how serious this is. I can't believe it. Shout out to TCU, Gary Patterson. What a coaching scheme he played for TCU, their head coach. Shout out to Gary and TCU, really with a huge upset at Texas. I mean, and a lot of the Texas people this preseason were saying, hey, you know, we got Sam back. We got some players coming back. This is our year. This is our year to run the table. Well, it ended a lot early than what we expected. Texas, I'm sorry. That's it. You guys are done. You know, shout out to Gary Patterson and TCU. You guys are moving on. Congratulations. But I also wanted to get into the pick that I got right. The biggest upset pick of the week was Iowa State over Oklahoma. I can't believe it, but I did pick that. I told you guys to go heavy on Iowa State at home. I just like the matchup, and honestly, Oklahoma was overrated. And we saw what happened a couple weeks ago. Oklahoma is so overrated. They are so overhyped, and that's that. Oklahoma's done. They are 1-2. They are below 500. You know, where's the Oklahoma team that we used to be seeing winning national championships? Where's that Oklahoma team? I'm looking. I can't see. Oklahoma, you guys are done. What a disgrace to the Oklahoma Sooners. I mean, seriously. You guys lose to Iowa State? You know, I can't believe it, but for real, shout out to Iowa State. You know, Oklahoma freshman quarterback Spencer, look, he had 300 yards passing with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. I'm not going to put the loss on him. I'm going to put it on the head coach. Really some iffy, questionable calls. Yeah, like, for real? You know, you guys are playing Iowa State. This game shouldn't even be this close. Oklahoma was 7.5-point favorites going in, and yet they still came up short and lost. You know, I can't believe it. The over-under was 63.5. I got the override on that one. I mean, what a time. Yeah, for real, dude. I cannot believe it. Iowa State, you know, the week prior, they beat TCU. You know, we see these crazy upsets. Brock, their quarterback, Iowa State's quarterback, he had 254 yards passing and 1 touchdown, balled out. Then their running back, Breece Hill, he had 28 carries with 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was the difference maker of the game. What was Mr. Hill being able to run it on Oklahoma at will, control the clock, really control the game. You know, similar to a boxing match. Controlling the fight, controlling the tempo. That's what Iowa State did versus Oklahoma. Therefore, Iowa State with the big upset over Oklahoma. Oklahoma, see you guys never. Okay? That's that. So long to you guys. Peace out. It was nice knowing you. Then we got South Carolina versus Florida. Obviously, I picked heavy on Florida. Really, obviously, the spread was 17.5. That was really a coin flip. Like I said, I don't mind going money line on the favorites here, you know, especially the big time favorites like Florida in this situation. They did not cover. 57.5 was the over under, went over. You know, Kyle Trask, like I said, this kid is legit. You know, he's obviously not the next Tim Tebow, but dude, I'm telling you, Kyle's legit. 268 yards passing with 4 touchdowns and only 1 interception. That was the difference maker. Florida is undefeated, and they keep improving week after week, and I like this Kyle kid. I really do. I think he's improving each week, showing us different tools that he can do. I'd like to see him run a little bit more every now and then, but look, dude, Florida Gators, let's go. You know, college football football's great when Florida Gators are in, right? As I always like to relate back to Tim Tebow. Shout out to Tim Tebow. What Tim Tebow's legacy did in Florida will never be forgotten, and let alone what he did for college football. But in the tradition never stops, and Florida just keeps getting better. I can't wait to see what Florida brings this year. I mean, we're talking Florida can be legit. They can go undefeated, okay, and make the playoffs. That's the line right there. So Florida, the future is bright for you guys. Then we got Missouri versus Tennessee. I got this right, and I went with the under. 48.5 was the over-under. Went under. But look, like I said, I don't really bet on the spreads. The money is the money line or the points right here. So Tennessee was 12-point favorites, and they ended up winning by more than 12. What a time. Garrett, Tennessee's quarterback, he had 190 yards passing with 1 touchdown. Eric Gray was the difference maker. He had 16 carries for 105 yards and 1 touchdown. That's how Mizzou lost this game. For real. That was that, dude. Shout out to Tennessee. Obviously, Missouri isn't the same team as they once were, back in 2008 when they had Chase Daniels. That was a couple good years there, but they still did not win a national championship with Chase Daniels when Chase Daniels was at Missouri. Then we got NC State versus Pittsburgh. Yes, I got this pick wrong. I went heavy on Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was one of the hottest college football teams coming in to week 5, and they came up short. NC State won this game, dude. Not only that, NC State's quarterback was the difference maker. This Devin kid, he had 336 yards passing with 4 touchdowns. He had the go-ahead touchdown to bring them up. So, dude, I cannot believe it, dude. Pittsburgh, this is why I love college sports, because we see a lot of the times these underdogs come on top. Obviously in professional sports, it tends to more towards the favorites, but I'm not saying the underdogs don't win, right? They do. They do win, but in college football right now, definitely in 2020, what's going on in our society, it's more evident of what's going to happen, but it's not though, right? It's really more of a coin flip. We don't really know much about these teams yet. It's still at the beginning of the year. We're still getting a feel for everything right now. Big Ten hasn't even played yet. So I feel like we're just trying to get in the rhythm, but shout out to NC State. I did not see it coming. Like I said, I went heavy on Pittsburgh in this game, dude. For real, I cannot believe it. I really can't. And then we got Texas A&M versus Bama. I went heavy on Bama. Bama's legit. They ended up covering the 18 points. 54.5 was the over-under. Was the over. Mac Jones, Bama's quarterback. Like I said, Bama always has a great quarterback and a great running back. It tend to have the best athletes, right? It makes sense why Nick Saban's one of the most winningest college football coaches ever, right? So shout out to Nick Saban. Give him some respect here. I expect Nick Saban to win a national championship. You know what I'm saying? For real. A national championship this year, Nick. After 3 years, if you haven't won in 3 years, that's crazy, right? Since 07, every other 3 years he wins one at least, dude, or if not back to back. You just never know. But look, Mac Jones, he went 435 yards passing with 4 touchdowns. That was really the difference maker there. Crazy. And then we had John the Third. He had 5 receptions for 181 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. This kid is something special. Bama always has great receivers too. Amazing. Bama is who we thought they were. They are legit. I cannot wait to see what Bama does late in the season, see where they're at. I do believe they will make the playoffs, even with the loss. Even if Bama gets a bad loss, when I say a bad loss, losing by a field goal, they can maybe even squeak in, win the SEC championship, squeak in that 3 or 4 seed into the playoffs. You just never know. Then we have North Carolina versus Boston College. Boston College did not win. Obviously, this did not cover. I picked North Carolina. North Carolina squeak one out here. North Carolina's quarterback, Sam Howell, he had 225 yards passing with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Like I said, North Carolina squeak one out here, barely. But like I said, these are the games where no matter how much you win by, as long as you win, if North Carolina keeps winning, we might have to, there's gonna be some fireworks coming down late in the season in college football. My team Notre Dame obviously is gonna play North Carolina late in the season, but like I said with Notre Dame, dealing with COVID, a couple players they had to postpone, a bunch of stuff. Like I said, Notre Dame, Brian Kelly, they have to prove to me that they can win a big game. For real. Can they beat Clemson this year? That's the whole question. That's what it boils down to. Notre Dame, can you guys win the big game? Then we got South Florida versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati was heavy favorites. They did not cover on this one. Cincinnati squeaked one out. Look, dude, Cincinnati, obviously South Florida is not the best team in college football, but Cincinnati, it is what it is. The Ryder, their quarterback, he had 143 yards passing with 2 touchdowns and 3 picks. Really not a good game. But their running back, Dokes, he had 22 carries, 102 yards, and 1 touchdown. That was the difference maker. Was Cincinnati's able to run the ball all over South Florida and control the clock, and that's how Cincinnati won. Excuse me, actually, Cincinnati, they ended up pushing the points. It was 28-7. So it was a push on the points, but if you went money line, you definitely won on this Cincinnati game, no doubt about it. And like I said, Oklahoma State versus Kansas, I went with the over. 54 was the over. I went Oklahoma State. I was about to say Kansas, no doubt. I went Oklahoma State. They ended up winning. Their quarterback, Shane, he had 285 yards passing with 3 touchdowns. On fire. It would be ignorant to go Kansas here. Believe me, I went Oklahoma State. 22.5 was the spread. Wallace, the receiver, had 9 receptions for 148 yards with 2 touchdowns. They were balling out. Shout out to Oklahoma State. We'll see what they're about. Then we got Memphis versus SMU. Obviously, I was wrong on this. This was an even pick. I picked Memphis, but SMU's kicker ended up hitting the go-ahead 43-yard kick with 9 seconds left, dude. Shout out to Chris, man. I mean, hitting a game-winning field goal, it's got to be feeling like hitting a game-winning shot in basketball or throwing a game-winning touchdown. It's just similar to that, right? It's just all your teammates are loving you because you just hit it. I love it. Hey, shout out to Chris. Shout out to SMU. Well deserved. Then we had Auburn versus Georgia. I understand I got this upset pick wrong. Yes, I know I got the Iowa State pick right, but I got this Auburn. I was way off. I thought they would come out on fire. I thought Bo Nix would have a better game than what he did. Georgia really proved to me that they're legit, dude. Bennett, their quarterback, Georgia's quarterback, he had 240 yards passing. And then their receiver, Jackson, he had 9 receptions for 147 yards. Georgia basically controlled this whole game from the start. And that was that. Auburn didn't come out as what I thought they would. But Georgia, they were 7.5 point favorites. They easily covered on this one. 43.5 was the over-under. It was definitely the under on this pick. But Georgia, they're definitely going to have to play Bama later on. So, it really boils down, can Georgia win the big game as well? We've seen in the past, I want to say in 2017 or 2018, Georgia was really beating up Alabama, and then Alabama came back. Then Tua threw that game-winning touchdown pass. Crazy. Now, Tua's in the NFL playing for the Dolphins. I hope he gets a shot eventually. Then we have Tulsa versus UCF. UCF blew it, dude. I cannot believe it. This was another upset pick that I did not see coming. Tulsa snaps UCF 21-game home winning streak. 21, dude. That's a lot. 21 home game winning streak snaps. Shout out to Tulsa. They came out ready to play. Zach Smith, their starting quarterback, he had 273 yards passing with 3 touchdowns and only 1 pick. Dude, I'm telling you, shout out to Tulsa. I did not see this coming. I don't think really anybody saw this coming except the coaching staff for Tulsa. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real. UCF, that's that. Your only shot to make the playoffs was winning out. And you guys failed to do that. Therefore, your season's cut short. You will not be in the playoffs. Let that sink in. Snap back to reality. For real, I cannot believe it. Then we have Arkansas versus Mississippi State. Another upset here. I picked Mississippi State heavy. I thought for sure they would win. They were 17-point favorites, but yet they still lost. Arkansas came to play, dude. Franks, he had 212 yards with 2 touchdowns. Mississippi State's quarterback, KJ, he had 3 picks. That was the difference right there. Their quarterback played. Their quarterback is subpar. They need to go with somebody else. Mississippi State, I really, opening up the season, beating LSU. I thought something was going to happen, but you guys mess around and lose to Arkansas? I don't get it, dude. That's that, but shout out to Arkansas one time. Then we got LSU versus Vanderbilt. Look, LSU bounced back. They ended up covering the 21 points. They killed them. Miles, their starting quarterback, LSU's 337 yards passing with 4 touchdowns. That was the difference maker. And then their running back, John Emery Jr., he had 12 carries for 103 yards and 1 touchdown. LSU just manhandled him, but there's future. There's sunny days for LSU right now. If LSU wins out, beats Bama, and then ends up winning the SEC championship, LSU definitely squeaks into that 3 or 4 seed in the playoffs. Isn't that crazy? First start in the season opener, losing the game, then winning all the rest? It's possible. LSU, there are some sunny days for you. I'm telling you right now. Never give up. And then we got Virginia versus Clemson. Clemson was 28.5-point favorites. Obviously, they did not cover. I would have went money line on this pick, no doubt. Clemson is legit. 55 was the over-under. Went over. Trevor Lawrence balled out. 329 yards passing with 3 touchdowns. I expect Trevor Lawrence to be the first pick of the NFL draft. I just hope he doesn't go to the New York Jets. You know, out of all the teams, do not go to the New York Jets. Go anywhere else besides the New York Jets, just for Trevor's sake. Travis, he also had 5 receptions for 114 yards and 1 touchdown, and also had 73 yards rushing. Like I said, man, this duo, Travis and Trevor, there is something else. Clemson, to me, is the team to beat. I mean, I understand LSU was a national championship last year, but to me, dude, I'm telling you, this is Clemson is legit. I cannot wait to see what the future holds for Trevor Lawrence and the Clemson Tigers. The future is super bright. But what upsets this week, though, in college football? Let's be honest here. Texas, I did not see them losing to TCU. I don't think anybody did. You know, same thing with NC State beating Pittsburgh. What an upset. That's crazy. But the biggest upset to me this whole week was definitely the upset I picked and I saw coming was Iowa State over Oklahoma. I mean, amazing to me. You know, but Oklahoma, I'm sorry. That's that. I said at the beginning of the season, Oklahoma should be banned from the playoffs for a couple years at least for the way they've been performing in the past. You know, for real. The way they've been getting blown out. You know, embarrassed in the playoffs. They should be banned. But look, you know, it's an easy decision now. They're 1-2. That's that. Oklahoma's done. In Texas, you guys are done, baby. It's college football. Let's go!